Thank you for clicking on this week's bonus content. I am Martin Prequel, and this is Rank the Movies Bonus Content Thursdays. That's a lame name, so maybe I'll fix it. Who knows? Maybe. Maybe I'll come up with a better name one day. Anyways, last week I talked about the Belko Experiment, my favorite horror movie. And this week I'm going to talk about, one of my favorite underrated movies of all time. It's close to in my top 10, not quite in my top 10. It's in my top 20, much like Belko. I'm going to talk about, it's one of my favorite underrated movies most people don't know about. It's my favorite George Lucas movie. And it's my favorite prequel to a movie I hate. And that movie is Radioland Murders. This film is all of that. George Lucas wrote this movie, so he didn't direct it. But I mean, when you talk about George Lucas films, there's a fine line between what he writes and what he directs. My favorite directed George Lucas film is going to end up being a Star Wars movie. My favorite overall Lucas film of both endeavors is Radioland Murders. It is also a prequel to American Graffiti. Even though it was made well after American Graffiti, it is a prequel to American Graffiti, and I don't like American Graffiti. I watched American Graffiti, did not care for it. So yeah, Radioland Murders. It's a great comedy. It came out in the mid-90s. The direct year, I'm not pulling off of here really quickly, so I'm not going to care about it. But it was made in the mid to early 90s. Basically, it takes place at a new radio station that is being launched. You have NBC, you have CBS, and I forget what the other radio station was at the time. But you had the big three radio stations that basically transferred into television studios. And this was supposed to be a fourth competitor in that market. It was going live that night. It takes place back in the days where radio was the only way you received things. Television wasn't a thing. You'd just be hearing my voice, but for those of you who just listen to podcasts, nothing's changed. So also back then there was a performance element to it. It was very minimal. You could actually go watch radio plays be performed. They were basically people standing in front of microphones with minimal costumes, minimal props, and scripts. But you can still go watch them. So this radio station has that feature as well. Anyways, it is their first night. They are going live for the first time, coast to coast. And, well, right away, their first thing is a big musical number, because obviously you'd open any radio station, a big musical number with the band playing, and their saxophone player falls over dead. He's poisoned. He's a heavy drinker through a flask, and rat poison has been poured into his flask, so he is now very, very, very dead. So we have a dead body that gets taken out of here. Brian Benben plays our main character. Roger, who is a writer for the radio station, he writes the ads, he writes the stories, and he finds out that the primary sponsor of this radio station, who's putting up most of the money for it to function, has read the scripts and has thrown out half of them, meaning they have to go back and rewrite half of the scripts for that night's shows. So he's the head writer, he's the one that has to go break the news to the writing room, featuring actors such as Harvey Korman, where if you watched last week's primary video of one-off horror movies, I couldn't think of his name when I was talking about Munchies. It's Harvey Korman. He's in this movie as well. Harvey Korman's in that room. Bobcat Goldthwait is in that room. I believe Rosemary Clooney is in that room. And there's a couple other... Peter McNichol is in that room. So it's got a very well-known room full of writers playing these parts. This movie actually has an astounding supporting cast. We'll get to more of them as we go on. Basically, he has to go rewrite everything while he's dealing with the fact that his marriage to his lovely wife is it's falling apart. To Penny, that's the wife's name is Penny. It slipped my mind. Played by Mary Stuart Masterson. They're married. She believes he is cheating on her, and his marriage is on the rocks. And now he's trying to rewrite all these scripts. And there's a dead body. Pretty soon, another dead body shows up. It is the body of the son of the station manager, who is the station owner's son. Turns up dead. He is the director of all these shows, played by Jeffrey Tambor. Jeffrey Tambor plays the station manager's dead son, as Ned Beatty plays his father. Also in this movie, you have Corbin Burnson, you have Christopher Lloyd, Burgess Meredith is in this thing. Michael McKean. It has a huge, great cast. But anyways, another dead body shows up, and there'll be more dead bodies throughout the night. And somehow, Roger is connected to them all. He has stupidly bad luck this entire night, and is either near the murder, or like he has the flask of the trumpet player. He has that on him because it fell onto his work as he was running around and they were moving the body. And he happens to be the one who finds Jeffrey Tambor's body, and he happens to be in a conversation with somebody else when they get killed. So everything starts pointing to him. And he's trying to not only rewrite the scripts, because he still has to rewrite the scripts, he's also trying to solve this murder and clear his name while all this is happening. It's a very kooky film. It's a very ridiculous film. How is it a prequel to American Graffiti, you may be asking? The Roger and Penny characters, who do inevitably, get back together in the end, they are actually supposed to be the parents of the character from American Graffiti, played by it's a very famous actor, and I can't think of him. Richard Dreyfuss? I don't think it's Richard Dreyfuss's character. I don't think it's Richard Dreyfuss's character from American Graffiti. I think it's the guy who was on Happy Days, who's also in American Graffiti, who's now a director, and I can't think of his name. I really can't. Ron Howard. I believe they're Ron Howard's parents from American Graffiti. I'm pretty sure. This should not have taken this long. Anyways, Roger inevitably finds out who the murderer is, and you find out the reason he's murdering everyone is because they used to work at a radio station in Peoria. All of them worked there together, where the murderer came up with the idea for television. He actually created television, and everyone else told him no and locked it away because they believed radio was the thing. It's a great movie. It's a funny movie. If you've never seen Radioland Murder, check it out. You can get it on Blu-ray. It's on DVD. There are VHS copies of it. You can get it on Laserdisc. I'm staring at a Laserdisc of it right now, hanging on my wall, and there's a vague chance I've seen I don't own a VHS copy of it because I have the Laserdisc on my wall, so I didn't see the point of both, but you can get it in basically any format you want. My save, beta, and some of the micro disc stuff. But anyways, Radioland Murders, check it out. Next week, we are moving on to another great comedy starring Jeff Goldblum and Ed Begley Jr. It's one of my favorites. Also, the primary video next week will be me going over the Halloween franchise. Michael Myers and its 4 timelines. So check that out on Wednesday and come back out to Thursday to see me talk more about random movies. See you next time.